What's up, everybody? Nate back here with Sports Med Solutions Knowledge Drops. Today, what I want to talk to you a little bit about is how hard to push. All right. I recently had a patient that I was working with, and he said, "Hey, if you tell me to do 3 by 10, I'm going to do 3 by 10. I don't care what it feels like. I will tolerate it." And I said, we need to start recalibrating how we think about when to push and when not to push. Okay. So we're we're patient clinician relationship right here. I'm going to tell you what I think you need, but I also need to know what you're feeling and how you're responding to it. Just because I say to roll the front of the shoulder, if it's making that bicep tendon worse or it's aching more afterwards, then that's clearly not the right move. Don't do it just because I say to do it. Tell me, hey, that hurts. Oh, well, let's not do it. Let's find something else, how we can get the same effect without actually having any adverse outcomes, right? So it got me thinking. So as our appointment was going on, me and the patient that said he would tolerate, and I was like, hey, I just want you to think about this. If it's range of motion, okay, these are the keywords I want you to think about. A little bit of pulling, maybe some discomfort associated with that, but, and I don't know why I always do this hand motion, right? Like no stabbing pain, okay? I don't want you to actually hurt when you're stretching because all that's telling the body is that we're in danger and the body's going to do the flip of what we want. It's going to try to protect and it's going to tighten up. Okay. Now, we move on to the exercise portion. And I'm like, hey, I want you to do a set of 8 of whatever exercise we were doing. He's like, all right. And all of a sudden I start to see his trap kick in, right? And I'm like, ooh, we got to stop. He's like, no, I can do it. I was like, yeah, but now we're ingraining poor motor patterns. You can do it. You can get your arm to look like this, right? But if it looks like this too, then we're not getting what we need to out of that exercise, right? So we're gonna bring it down. We're gonna do sets of 6. So we do 6, and it was like by number 6, he was just starting to creep up, and I was like, perfect. That's right where I want you. The next set, let's do 6 more. All right. This time it was 5. He was starting to creep up. So I put my fingers on. I was like, hey, I want you to cue this part right here, giving him a little bit of tactile feedback. And that gave him the ability to kind of set down that shoulder blade, not lock it in place, but to control it. So that way, as he brought his arm up, it was moving more correctly. So once again, just because I told him to do 8 doesn't mean that was the right prescription. So through our conversation, right, we were able to develop and get to where he's getting what he needs without ingraining bad motor patterns. So maybe we'll say 3 by 8. Okay, 3 by 8 is 24. Doing public math, so I'm putting myself out there, right? 3 by 4. But what if I'm sorry, 3 by 8 is 24. Now, why can't I do 4 sets of 6? I think that's still 24, right? So we still getting the same volume, we're still getting the same work, but we're doing it in better motor patterns. Okay. So if I say 3 by 10, that's 30 reps. Maybe we really need to be doing like sets of 6. Okay. Maybe 5 sets of 6. Right. So that way we're still building that volume, building that resiliency in the tissue, but we're also making those good motor patterns. Right. So how hard to push is all relative. Now, earlier in that appointment, we were doing joint mobs. Well, joint mobs are where I take all of the slack out of your joint and then I apply a little bit of overpressure just in one direction to help improve your overall motion at the joint. That's going to be uncomfortable. There's no way, 2 ways around it. So my cue for this is we got a pain scale of 10. 1, almost nothing, like you're just waking up in the morning and you're a little like, oh man, okay. 10 being like my arm's falling off, I'm in the ambulance on the way to the ER. Okay. I want it to be below a 4. If I stay below a 4, chances are, as I let the pressure off, we give it a few seconds, that pain subsides. That means that I'm just kind of working into that end range that's uncomfortable, but I'm not actually irritating it, right? So different than stretching, right? Because we're not using contractile, or we're not working on contractile muscles. We're working on ligamentous, stiff, just tissue that doesn't want to move, right? We have to force it to move. So doing those joint mobs, we get up. Oh man, what? What? All of a sudden he can touch his opposite shoulder. He can come not far back, but he's reaching further back and he's reporting less pain. So, all right, next set, stay below 4. Do that a little bit better, right? So with this non-contractile tissue, we can push a little bit more into the pain. Contractile tissue when we're stretching, minimum discomfort, a little pulling, right? And then exercises, as long as the form doesn't break down, we can kind of start to push through. Now, next week, I want to talk to you a little bit about that same thing, but with exercising, with actual strengthening and complex movements, not just kind of in that rehab setting. But hey, I'm going to stop here. Y'all go enjoy the rest of your weekend. Uh, have a great one.